Hey students, Dr. Dan Stevens here. I started out Module 1 in this particular course in the intro of the very first week of classes. We have a lot of readings, yes, admittedly. So anyway, let's jump in here so as not to waste your time. Module 1, City Politics. I started out the discussion by answering question 1 myself. Kind of give you an idea. This is what I'm looking for. I went a little overboard, to be honest. I didn't want to set that bar so high that you guys are, it's daunting. I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to provide enough, detail. You can kind of see this is the way I look at things. Now I like how you guys have been responding thus far, and it's been great. You're rocking it, so not a problem. Politics. I'm going to just address 3 of these questions. I only had 5 in there, but I'm going to address 3 of them. And I'll leave you to see my answer to number 1. That's a given. The politics of growth, though. What exactly is that talking about, the politics of growth? To answer it properly, you got to mention the challenges and the objectives of growth, of a community growing, right? Competition with nearby communities for jobs, things like this, for scarce resources, whatever. And now caution. I did mention in going through all of your responses, I saw where at least one student wrote about public-private partnerships. Okay, and it wasn't wrong. I said caution because in this case, public-private partnerships, they help to finance large projects, by infusing private sector dollars into these projects. Like, for example, the I-4 Ultimate project. If we were, as a region, all the, 13 county or 13 cities in Orange, 2 in Osceola, and 7 in Seminole, if we were to all, pool all our resources and say, okay, we're going to build this highway, we're going to expand this highway, it might take us forever. We don't have that kind of money in our, respective budgets to undertake this big project. However, private sector loves to invest money, because they want to make profit, right? So that's the idea behind the public-private partnerships. I appreciate you, and I'm sorry I forgot. I think it was Zach that mentioned it. Thanks for bringing that up. And that was a good observation. That's kind of how growth occurs a lot of times. Another thing I do want to caution about, though, and it was wrong, but there was more to it than what was added. Amazon citing was, mentioned in there. It said, it was mentioned that you bring in a company like Amazon into a community and you have a steady stream. You've got a lot of workers that are employed and they're all making money, and so everybody works out, right? Except that some large corporations pay less than a living wage, and so basically all of these workers, they're making money, but they're not making enough money. And so what happens is they go on the dole, they become a drain on a community. And so, great, a company like that is here, except for if these people have to be on welfare, and that's being taxpayer funded, either food programs or housing programs, or utility programs, whatever. Somebody's got to foot the bill for that. And unfortunately, the reason that we're talking about this is because it's not the corporation. Jeff Bezos is making $1 gazillion, but his workers aren't necessarily, in this case. I'm not meaning to pick on Jeff Bezos. I use Amazon myself, right? So, anyway, but just keep that in mind. Be aware of that could be the case. Bringing in jobs is not necessarily just bringing in jobs, but bringing in the right kind of jobs, right? Next question was addressing the politics of governance. Okay, so what exactly is governance? Well, the way we now govern communities. It used to be that government just led the charge. They said, okay, this is what we're going to do, and y'all have to deal with it. Now, and I like that a lot of students mentioned in their post minority groups, underserved groups in our population. That's exactly why you have governance. You have faith-based organizations. You have private entities. Private companies. You have who all makes up a community. Private citizens, people of all ages, whatever. You have to have a richness of representation when you have governance, and when you do that, that's what makes government work for everybody. It's not just government, like a few bureaucrats saying this is what we need to do. At that point, it's like, look, this is my perspective. This is, where we're falling short, in my neighborhood, and this is what we need to do better. And so all these people bringing this to the table, that's governance. So the politics of governance, plays a big part in city politics. Lastly, the last one I'm going to address, I'm fidgeting with my watch, sorry. The politics of metropolitan fragmentation. I think I actually mentioned this. I a lot of times I will chime in on some of your conversations directly. I'll post something, so I might have covered this before, but think about Metroplan Orlando. You've got 25 seats at the table. You've got all the various, not all of the cities, but a lot of the cities in the region, in the Tri-County area. You've got the various agencies like Orlando International Airport. You've got Kissimmee, their airport, Sanford, Orlando. You've got DOT, Florida Department of Transportation, Lynx. You've got a lot of different entities that are all vying for scarce resources. And this is just, Metroplan just deals with transportation at this point, right? So metropolitan fragmentation presents some challenges. All of these people, all these small, groups that are vying for, resources or, let me give you an idea. When I was down at Osceola County as a planner, I remember I was I was the sole park planner for the county. Well, one of the ideas that we had, Terry Myers was my boss, or my boss's boss's boss, in a roundabout sort of way. He was my boss. And one of the things he did was he figured out tourists and how much money they were bringing to the public coffers. They come into town, they stay at a hotel, they pay tourist tax, for that hotel. They buy 3 square meals a day, They're buying gas, they're buying trinkets at the little marts on the side of the road, whatever. So they have an economic impact, right? So this particular story was they thought, okay, we need to have facilities for the county that offer the ability to do softball tournaments. That was their big thing at that time. Let's build something out in Harmony. And so that way, all these people will come into town, all these touring leagues will come into town, all the fans that come with them, a lot of hotel money generated, a lot of everything generated. Except that the closest hotels to Harmony, which is on the east side of Osceola County, were actually in Brevard County. So Brevard County was reaping the benefits, and Osceola County was looking to shell out all that money for the facilities. Didn't think that one through, right? That's where you're vying. These communities are vying for the scarce resources. They're vying for the tax money. They're vying for the tourists to come in. They're vying for whatever. So anyway, that's one of the things, politics of metropolitan fragmentation. I think actually, as I recall, in one of my comments, talking about in Europe, planning is done at the national level. A lot of times, if in Germany or in France or wherever, and they want to build a road, they don't have to ask, 15,000 little towns and villages and whatever, and all the different individuals that are affected. They're the national government. They say this is what we're going to do. Anyway, so very thorough, rich post. I was impressed. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Anyway, see you next time.